The 2022 Formula 1 season is pretty much over for fans of any team beside Red Bull. But for all of those out there who are wondering when a new championship fight is going to happen, don't worry, we've got you covered. Well, not really us, but rather Mercedes. The team is in fact already working to be at the top of the grid next year, and oh boy are things going to look splendid for them. So in this video, we're going to go over how the German car manufacturer is going to play a big role in deciding next year's championship and why they will probably get us a fight with Red Bull just like the one that we got in 2021. We know that Mercedes this year hasn't been performing as well as we were expecting. Early struggles, especially with porpoising, completely crushing their possibilities to win the championship this season. Since pre-season testing in Barcelona, it was clear that the car wasn't ready to be competitive, and the team struggled a lot to even understand what was wrong. Despite the fact that at the beginning of the season they had some good placements regarding race results, the car was extremely unstable in most occasions, leading to Hamilton struggling in Imola to get past Gasly for P14, and having both of the Silver Arrows out in Q1 at Jeddah. The team started figuring out how to solve the problem in Spain, when they brought new upgrades to reduce the porpoising effect. Sadly, the hype was short-lived, as the next few races were on street circuits which are really bumpy, meaning the drivers couldn't drive how they wanted to. Heck, when Hamilton got out the car in Azerbaijan, he was sitting like he was 90 years old. Well, we know he likes to exaggerate, but still, it's impressive how much the car wasn't performing. This trend continued, with a bit of luck here and there that gave the team their only pole position so far this season in Hungary, but apart from that, the team's been struggling. After the summer break, some improvements were made to the car, but nothing could bring them close to Red Bull. Let's look at one example, which is the US Grand Prix, when Lewis was about to win his first race of the season, but then got annihilated by Verstappen, who overtook him with DRS like a fighter jet overtakes a 1992 Vespa. One reason for this, following Hamilton's wording, he came from so far back on the straight. I think they are like 10 kilometers faster than us on the straights, and at the end of the straight our mirrors are vibrating so much that I couldn't see where he was, so it was difficult to defend. This is really becoming a problem. Now that other teams like Ferrari are struggling, it should be time for Mercedes to fight for wins, but it's clear that the car is playing a big role in all of this. Hamilton also complained about how stiff the car was on the bumpy surface of the track, which has a lot of elevation changes, meaning a lot of irregularities in the road, and that was surely to reduce porpoising. The problem is that fixing a problem can generate another one. By having stiffer suspension, not only the car's components get more wear, but the overall grip is heavily reduced, as tyres don't adhere to the surface properly, leading to sliding, leading to more tyre wear, leading to an uncompetitive car. But why then are we so sure that they're going to be back on top soon? Well, one reason for that is that since they won the Constructors' Championship last year, they got much less wind tunnel time this season during development, and this is a much bigger deal than it seems. Since aerodynamics changed a lot between this and last year's season, having less wind tunnel time isn't making competition fairer, but just ruining it for the previous year's winner. Just look at how much Haas has gotten better. This season the team has 38 points, which is 38 more than last year, and they had their best finish in a long time with a P5 in Bahrain and a P9 in Saudi, both of which were at the beginning of the season, when back markers had a huge technical advantage over top teams. It's probably because of this that Red Bull with 7% and Ferrari with 18% more time than Mercedes in a wind tunnel are now at the top. Even though Mercedes has progressively gotten better, the time they lost between one season and the other meant that they are obviously never going to catch up to Ferrari, even though they've been on the same level in the last few races. This means that they're going to have 18% more wind tunnel time than Red Bull. And since these cars are still in their earliest stages, it will be fundamental to use that carefully. But knowing Mercedes, I'm sure they will. For now, it looks like they're using the last races of the season to test out new components and technologies that could improve their machinery in 2023. We've already seen how fast they can pop out new technologies, and even seeing the cost cap, it doesn't really look like they're struggling to get new components on the car. So I guess that they have some freedom on that note. Speaking of budget cap, the rumoured penalty for Red Bull for exceeding the cost cap is a fine and a 25% wind tunnel time reduction. Yeah, really underwhelming, but at least it's not granted that they will have such a good car next season, meaning that Merc could try and swift past them in the championship battle now that the sport's rules are against them, just like when pretty much everyone overtook Ferrari in 2019 after the engine penalty they got. The current car, the W13, wasn't necessarily bad or had any big problems, and its philosophy will probably be kept. The chief designer Mike Elliott, who joined the team in 2012, so he must know what he's talking about, states that what you're seeing in terms of performance and the way it swings from race to race is a consequence of that. And that's a mistake we've known about for a while, and something we've been correcting. And that's why our performance has gradually gotten better. Getting the car right first try is really difficult in these conditions, and the fact that you don't know what you did wrong is probably even worse. What we can say for sure is that the team will use what they learned in this season and improve the car in the next season. We know the problems they face are not easy to solve, and the fact that time is running out is certainly not on their side. This doesn't stop the drivers though, who have been always fighting against the problems. George Russell has, for most of the season, finished in the top 5 when conditions were against him or when he had to use strategy to his own advantage. There is potential in the car, said Lewis Hamilton when asked about how the car feels. We've got downforce, it's just in some places we're not able to utilize it. And ride quality, of course, is an area that we can always be better. So I'm comfortable with the direction that we're going. And to all of the haters out there that would say that a world champion should be able to win in any car, remember that in this sport, the car is worth more than the driver. Put a bad driver in an amazing car and he will do the impossible. Put a winning driver in a midfield car and he will always be struggling. What the driver can do is just drive and tell his team what's wrong, but apart from that, he doesn't really have any capabilities to change his vehicle. A driver is nothing without his team, and especially without his car, so no wonder we don't see single drivers competing in important championships. So, will we see Mercedes back on top of the grid? Absolutely. We need to remember that they have won Constructors' Championships for 8 years in a row, and some regulation changes are not going to stop them from continuing to improve and try to close the gap on other teams. The drivers, they are incredibly talented, the mechanics are really fast and efficient, and they have a spot-on strategy team. Compare this to Ferrari, and you understand that even with a faster car, they wouldn't really have a chance, as they tend to take things a lot less seriously than how Mercedes does. So are they winning next year's championship? Well, this depends more on them than it does on us. But for sure we will get back some of the action that we lost in 2022, as more and more teams start to reach the best that they all have ever been. So what do you think? Is Mercedes going to win the 2023 Formula 1 season? Is Red Bull going to have a dominant year once again? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, because at 10,000 subscribers, we're going to get hired by Mercedes themselves and help fix the team's car. No, not really, but you should subscribe anyway.